Hello everybody, this is AUD Nomad speaking, also your favorite Eikon. I have something very, very special I want to discuss with you today. This right here is peak. Don't get me wrong, I just finished RE9. It is beyond amazing and is more than anything I could ask for as a longtime Resident Evil fan. To give you some background, I remember watching my old brother on his PS2 when he'd play the intro to RE4. And it used to give me the spooks and nightmares. It's like a memory just sitting in the far back of my mind that I always will remember. I remember getting really into Resident Evil during the 360's life cycle, trying 5, 6, Operation Raccoon City, Revelations 1 and 2. For a while I was too hard-headed and weary of trying the older games due to the tank controls, much like many others today. 7 and 8 eventually came out along with the remakes, and I was there for all of those. Then that reveal of Resident Evil 9 came out, and oh my goodness, it gave me goosebumps. It all started when I decided to give Resident Evil 1 Remake a try, in anticipation for Resident Evil 9. I got accustomed to the controls quick and quickly flew through the game as Jill and once as Chris. And I tried Code Veronica, which is my favorite old style of Resident Evil. Sony eventually re-released the original RE2 from 1998 and 1999 on the PS Plus catalog. Streamed all those live, so go check those out on my streams. I even beat Dino Crisis. Well, what do you think, Captain?
That's disgusting.
And got really into Devil May Cry. With their origins originally being created as Resident Evil games. After playing Resident Evil 9, I've noticed a lot of that magic and had a lot of the same feelings going through it as I did the older games, as it did really well recreating the horror atmosphere for Grace, especially with the lack of gear she can get her hands on. There are more differences than similarities, and most of those differences are what makes them more modern and more accessible. Despite that, I think there are 8 key aspects of the original experiences that make up collectively as to why the originals are so special to me and many of the OG fans. Mind you, I was born in 2004, so a lot of this is coming from recent experiences with these games and not from almost 30 years ago. First, we're going to talk about the part that is the most controversial among Resident Evil fans: fixed cameras and tank controls. So for those unaware, the older games before RE6 all have this control style dubbed tank controls. It's called that because the left stick is entirely how you move your character. If you were to go forward, you'll move forward. If you go back, you'll go back. If you go right, you'll rotate right, and same for left. It makes it a bit more difficult to traverse the landscape, and it's much harder to just juke and loop your enemies around, but the design is intentional. And this was before games like Halo revolutionized the normal controller layout we use today. But this goes hand in hand with something else: the fixed cameras. Instead of having your camera facing behind your character like a normal third-person action game, your camera will be placed in specific spots to give the game a more cinematic feel. The reasons I say these go hand in hand is, if you were to change anything about this, it would not only make getting around your enemies a much more viable option than using your precious ammo, which you don't get much of. No matter where the camera is, moving the left stick forward will move your character forward, even if you're going left, for example, as long as you're facing that direction. This is the case because if the controls were based on where the camera was instead of where your character is facing, during camera transitions, if you were running straight, your character would suddenly shift directions. This layout is more palatable and more easy to get used to and even learn in order to improve your movement around the zombies or dinosaurs or whatever you seem to be facing. Do I prefer the normal third-person and first-person cameras that we use today? Yes, but don't get it twisted. I think these cameras still have a place, and if you look at games like Countey or Conscript, there are a lot of ways to use the camera in different ways than a normal game and use it to your advantage. But if you look at games like Devil May Cry, you can see that fixed cameras and normal control layout is completely palatable. But even Devil May Cry eventually switched to normal cameras.
Devil May Cry.
Next, we gotta talk about inventory management and ink ribbons. No matter what environment you find yourself navigating, the pioneers of survival horror, being Capcom, had a lot of overlapping level design in their series at the time. In these games, for example, you will find a locked door that requires a key. You'll then have to go somewhere to find that key. With your 6-item inventory, you're carrying your pistol and shotgun, that's 3 slots, knife and ammo, that's 5, and a healing item, that's 6. You find the key and realize you need to discard your healing item, effectively wasting it. Now you have to backtrack from where you are to go back to the locked door. As you enter the hallway, you need to get to the door, meet a new enemy, and it kills you, and think, dang, I should have had that healing item, and realize you didn't save your game, and you have to do it all over again. That, to me, that is survival horror in a nutshell. You do have access to more inventory space and access to a storage box though, so this forces you to think carefully about which items to take and when to take them and when you'll need them most. In other games, each encounter you face and overcome, you would just hit a quick save and save your game, but in old school Resident Evil, you needed these one-time use ink ribbons to save your game. You could find them scattered around the map, but usually when you hit a key story moment or progress through like a boss fight, for example, they'll usually give you more than enough ink ribbons to save as you please. So in regards to this, you just have to be cautious and remember to go back to a safe room and save your game. But combining that with the limited inventory makes it interesting, because there's situations where, what if you can't pick up an ink ribbon because your inventory is full? What if you have no heals and you're one shot and you have to get back to the group of zombies to go get your heals from the storage box? The limited inventory space and limited saves are simply another obstacle to overcome when learning the game's mechanics, just like the tank controls. Next, we're going to talk about the world building and lore. So, hot take. The character design was good and the voice dialogue was cheesy, giving it this 80s to 90s B-movie feel, but the voice acting itself and the cutscenes leave a lot to be desired. This is the end, bro? Are you fucking serious?
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
It's over. No. I have.
Goodbye, Ada.
And with the game obviously not having the best graphics despite its pre-rendered backgrounds, it had to find other means in engulfing the player into the Resident Evil universe, which at the time didn't have all this lore, movies, and extra media to turn to. Capcom's main means of getting the player immersed into the disaster of Raccoon City and the STARS investigation of the Arclay Mountains was by setting the mood with its eerie music. The soundtrack was so good at playing with your emotions. Compare what I just played to this safe room music.
Oh my god! Wow!
With the music setting the mood and getting your mind in the right space for the tone being set, and the occasional jump scare with massive air quotes. Despite what you're looking at, it starts to feel a little more real and tense as you're attempting to beat whatever game in this genre you're playing. And this is made all the more easier with all the notes scattered around. With the cutscenes being a bit lackluster as stated before, this was honestly at the time the best way to lay out lore for your games, with a lot of old school RPGs and MMOs using this note style of storytelling before Resident Evil took a crack at it. In Dino Crisis, located in one of the secret labs, you can find one of Dr. Kirk's journals, detailing the experiment that took place on the island where you find all the dinosaurs. Its first sentence being, "It is easy to unleash any kind of power. The real task is keeping the power under control." It also details how the results of the experiment may please the military, and how one result led to inspiration for the Doctor. Later on in the game, you find an audio log with him referencing the power of a god to some sort of military higher up. where the higher-up then states how he could not want that kind of power. This is most likely how he got government backing for his experiment, which is most likely why Gale thanked him for that drive at the end of the game, making there a possibility that not only Gale's a traitor, and a part of the reason he was so dedicated to complete the mission was due to the fact that he was undercover on another mission. But we are also some sort of evil security force helping the main antagonist get away with his evil deeds. It's little seeds planted like this that make these stories that much more impactful, and I'm very happy to see that these trends continue on in Resident Evil 9, with the experiment with Chloe and Emily and the logs dedicated to the experiment done by Oswald E. Spencer. Another part of the design in Resident Evil which makes it look so different than other games from its time were the pre-rendered backgrounds. Google says, pre-rendered backgrounds in Resident Evil were created by designing in highly detailed 3D scenes in software, then photographing them as static 2D images from fixed cinematic camera angles. These 2D images were placed in the in-game engine while the 3D character models and interactive objects moved on top, saving processing power and allowing for advanced visuals, which created this realistic but plastic look to the scenery around your character. To have rendered all the backgrounds in-game wouldn't have worked, at the time. They didn't have the capabilities of the technology at the time. Their idea and plans and goals were simply too ambitious. Lastly, I want to talk about this beautiful transition. From what I understand, there are two purposes of the iconic door transition from OG Resident Evil, and a part of me wishes they brought it back, but that's just a hot take and a discussion we don't need to get into right now. First off, every area separated from the doors is essentially its own instance, like Fallout for example. A little pocket universe with its own room in it, and each room you need to enter needs to be loaded in and rendered with all the textures in place for you not to fall through the floor. The processing power for the game was already on the high end with how detailed they wanted the game to be, and at the time these were cutting edge graphics, so there needed to be loading screens regardless. So instead of leaving it with a black screen with some spinning logo or Resident Evil logo, like many others would do at this time, this would be their second reason for integrating the door transitions. They attempted to create suspense for the player. As you open the door, the music stops. You slowly creep through the door anticipating what is on the other side. You could open to a pack of hunters, or maybe Nemi if you're playing Resident Evil 3. The stuff writes itself when the game is in motion. You may leave a quiet room to one that is loud music playing, as that changes the tone and adds tension to the scene. Simply said, just think of it as not knowing what's behind the door and the limitation of the technology at the time. As mentioned before, the dialogue gives an 80s to 90s B-movie feel. Just take a listen. Found you.
What's our status?
This security system is a snap for me. Real amateur stuff. So, what exactly happened to Gale? You said that he was attacked by a dinosaur?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I just hope he's still alive. Anyway, our first priority is to complete the mission.
What we ought to do is just call in the chopper and get off this death trap.
That's a great idea, but Cooper has the radio, and he's missing. Hey, what's with this monitor?
That's the security monitor for the underground area. The camera's offline.
So I take it that means power still hasn't been restored to the area.
Exactly. They must have that area wired to a different power system than the ground level.
Well, we can investigate that area after we finished our sweep of the ground level.
Okay, then I'll take care of the shutters that are blocking the way. You work your way in, grab the dock, and then rendezvous back here.
Something about it is charming, although it is cheesy and outdated and not what you'd consider top-tier voice acting. I think most of us can agree that there's something about it that is just charming and lovely. Think about how Wesker says, "Don't open that door."
Stop it! Don't open that door!
As the hardcore fans know, there are numerous ports of all the Resident Evil games: Dreamcast, Nintendo Wii, PS1, all the way to PS5 and PC. So depending on what you played it on first will most likely depict your favorite version of these games. When it comes to the original Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, as well as the original Dino Crisis, I believe the PS5 port is the most accessible way and easiest way for new players to get into the OG style of survival horror. One thing a lot of new age players will like is the new rewind feature on the PlayStation 5 port on the PS Plus catalog, Classics catalog. So if you press the normal pause button, you can rewind, right? So you get every 120 frames that you load in, you can basically load back to that moment. So let's say you're running down the hall, you get hit by a zombie, you can rewind back to when you were at the start of that room. You can save anywhere. You don't have to use the typewriters. So I just saved right here. I'll go out this room. Load back. Boom. And I'll go through the door. Okay, you want to go back to the room or back to the door? Boom. There you go. Overall, I think that about covers the magic of old school survival horror and why, to me, it's so special and still has a place in gaming in today's climate of bloated and repetitive jump scares in horror games nowadays. There are plenty of reasons to go back and try these games just like so many of us are after playing through Resident Evil Requiem. As someone who used to be hesitant to how old they looked and feared the struggle of tank controls, once you get used to it, the games hold up and feel and play really well, and it opens a whole avenue of older games for you to try with similar controls as Resident Evil or Dino Crisis. Before I ended this video, I wanted to talk about how these older systems actually compared to the latest entry in Resident Evil Requiem. First off, Grace's movement in third person when she falls over and trips, it's reminiscent to the tank controls, getting stuck on objects, trying to run past zombies just for them to block you and jump on you. I've done the same thing in Resident Evil 9.
What's in here? Stop! You dumb bitch! Get up! Get in the locker! Get in the locker!
Her lack of defense is reminiscent to the lack of ammo given in the first few games on the harder difficulties, making fleeing a much cheaper but safer option to take against the zombies. The last point I noticed was with RE9, and if you don't read any of the files, you won't get the full context of the story just like in the older games. If you didn't read the files in the older games, you were just going through the motions, objective to objective, not really sure what was going on around you. And then a cutscene would hit you and you were just like, okay, what the fuck is going on? Now, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe because I put a lot of effort and work into this video. I've been working on this all morning from like 6 in the morning to like 2 in the afternoon. So I've been busting my ass, doing a lot of editing, help a brother out. I am trying to do better videos and this is my first attempt at that. So let me know what you think in the comments below. But unfortunately, I'm not working as hard as I should be. And I know there are a lot of people who are. And I want to go and highlight and shout out to those who are, because a lot of people are busting their ass making these indie games. Some aren't indie, but some of them are. And they are incredible experiences, and I just want Resident Evil fans to know that they exist and they have alternatives if they are OG fans of the OG games and the OG style of Resident Evil. This cute little game is called Countey. I did a playthrough of this on stream, so go ahead and check that out. But it is so cute. I love the art style. It has a very unique camera and aiming system. But to give you a brief little description, you're playing as a girl named Mara. You're a detective, supposedly. And you are going to investigate this abandoned amusement park. You're looking for the owner named Mr. Crow. And there's a big reveal at the end, and I think there's numerous endings. It was a super nice little game. I think it's worth a check, and it's super cheap. Definitely go give it a try. The next one here is Conscript. This game is fucking dark. This game is hardcore. It's depressing. It's so sad. You're playing as a conscript in World War I. You're a young man trying to find your brother in the war. And it's just, it's so sad. The ending had me fucked up. One thing I will say is that the maps are very open-ended. And the puzzles were not difficult, but man, they get your head spinning. I've never played the original Silent Hill, so I can't speak much on them, but they are fucked up. Think Resident Evil, but more psychological than the science horror. I've already brought up Dino Crisis, but it's literally made by the same people who made the original Resident Evils. If you've never played this, definitely give it a try. It's a lot more difficult. You're not able to fight back as much since you're fighting dinosaurs, like fast dinosaurs instead of the slow walking zombies. The one problem I have with this game is the puzzles. The puzzles were actually insane. Like, look at this.
What the fuck?
And it's not even like there was just a handful of really difficult puzzles like some other games. Almost all the puzzles are just a pain in the ass. Everything is so complicated. Everything is a fucking math science project. I don't understand it. Watch my playthrough and you will see me struggle my life away. But yeah, Resident Evil with dinosaurs. Pretty novel concept. Last but not least, we have Onimusha Warlords. This is a remake of a old ass game. It's also made by people who made Resident Evil, and it is quite the difference. It's closer to Devil May Cry than Resident Evil, but it has Resident Evil style puzzles with Resident Evil pacing. Like, you'll find one gun and you'll go through an area, but instead of guns you get swords, muskets, and bows. It's like the Dynasty period, or yeah, something like that. Old school China Resident Evil. As I have mentioned numerous times throughout this video, I've done multiple live streams of a bunch of Resident Evil or Resident Evil style games. The original 2, 3, 9, Countey, and Conscript, and many other types of games if you're interested in seeing me play through those. They're already up on the channel. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Let me know what I can do to improve upon this video, audio or quality or anything of that nature. Let me know what you thought of Resident Evil 9, or for those of you who support the older games, did I hit any points that you agree with, maybe something you disagree with? Let's all have a discussion in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll be working on a video for the upcoming War Bond for Helldivers 2, so stay tuned for that. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.